Alright, how's everybody doing today? Back again with another video for you guys and gals, and today what I have for everyone is my full review of the Samsung Galaxy M20. Now I've been using this bad boy for a little bit now, and I feel like I got a handle on everything that I want to talk about and cover with you guys and gals. So without further ado, let's jump into this full review. Now, starting off, let's talk about the overall build quality and design. Now, from a build quality standpoint, I have to say Samsung has done a great job here. There's no rattling or creaking of any kind. All the buttons give you a nice tactile and clicky feedback to them. So really nice build quality overall. In terms of the design, I do like the design of this device. I actually like the fact that it has a nice balanced weight to it. It feels very nice in the hands. So that's really good as well. Now, Samsung has implemented a new design material this time around using their Glastic material here. So this is a plastic composite that's designed to look and feel like glass. So what does that mean at the end of the day? That just means that this bad boy is a slippery beast without a case, and it does get very fingerprinty. You can see if I tilt it in the light, it gets super fingerprinty. So that's all that Glastic design means. It's a plastic that feels like glass. Okay? But overall, in terms of the overall build quality and design, I have to say Samsung has done a great job here. Okay? Next thing I want to talk about with you guys and gals now is I want to go over this display. Alright? So, in terms of the display right here, this bad boy has a 6.3 inch TFT 1080p display. Okay? In particular, it has a screen density of 409 pixels per inch, just for you guys and gals that would like to know the raw numbers. That being said, putting the raw numbers aside and talking about this display in terms of daily usage, I actually feel this is a really good display. Okay, whether I'm using it indoors where I keep it at about 25% brightness, or I'm using it outdoors where I have to keep it at about 80% brightness, I've had no issues with this display. Granted, I was a little sad to see that Samsung got rid of their always-on display because they changed up display technologies, and the TFT display does not give you the ability to use the always-on display functionality. So I was a little bit sad to see that, but overall, in terms of the display, I feel like they made a really good display here. Okay? Now, moving on, let's dive a little bit deeper into some of the hardware and then talk about the software in terms of the daily usage. So hardware-wise, this device comes in two different storage RAM variants. This one y'all see in this video here today is the 3 gig of RAM, 32 gigs of onboard storage variant, but it does come with a 464 variant option as well. Okay? It also comes with dual SIMs and a dedicated microSD card slot. It has a 4900 milliamp hour battery on board. Now on paper they say 5000, but with my testing I verified that it is indeed a 4900 milliamp hour battery. We're going to go over that a little bit more later on. Okay? At the bottom of the device we do have USB Type-C, and we do have 15-watt fast charging via the USB Type-C port. We have the speaker grill and the primary microphone, as well as we have a 3.5mm headphone jack. So really good stuff there. On the back of the device, we have a always active capacitive fingerprint sensor, which is really fast and really responsive. Then we have a 13 megapixel primary sensor camera and a 5 megapixel ultra wide camera with a 123 degree field of view. Okay, in terms of the cameras on the Samsung Galaxy M20, you got a max video recording resolution of 1080p at 30 frames per second, and that's regardless of whichever camera you decide to record with. So the primary camera, the ultra wide camera, it all maxes out at 1080p at 30 fps. Okay, Flipping it over to the front, we have an 8 megapixel front-facing camera up top there. Inside of that teardrop notch right there, this is what Samsung is calling their Infinity V display or Infinity U display. It's a teardrop notch, y'all. Let's be serious, okay? But it also taps out at 1080p video recording at 30 FPS, okay? So no more, no less, all right? Then we have that 6.3-inch display that I already covered. Diving into the internals on this bad boy is packing a Exynos 7409 octa-core processor and a Mali a Mali G71 MP2 GPU. So for those of you who don't know, that's Samsung's in-house Exynos chipset that they have inside of this bad boy, and that's a mid-range to entry-level chipset that's in here, okay? So that pretty much goes over all of the hardware on this device. Now, if I forgot anything, please feel free to correct me down below in the comments. Now let's dive a little bit deeper into the software on this device here, okay? Now, software-wise, this bad boy is running on top of Android 9.0, and it has Samsung's One UI skin on top. So you can see everything has been rearranged on this UI to be more one-hand friendly. So if I pull down the notification shade, I can easily reach my toggles with one finger, and I can adjust my brightness with one finger, and every app inside of here has been redesigned to be more one-hand friendly. That's the key designing aspect behind the One UI interface here. And in terms of the overall software interface, I feel as though Samsung has done a great job here, okay? Now, the only gripe that I have with the software on the Samsung device is they got rid of one of my favorite features. They got rid of the smart screenshot feature. So that was the ability to take a real quick screenshot and then edit it before you save it. So that's a feature that I use a lot, so I was kind of bummed out to see that they got rid of it on here, but the core components of One UI are here, alright? That being said, talking about this software in terms of daily performance, I have to say it's pretty good. Now, it's Android, and it's a 3 GB version of Android here, so what does that mean? That you will still run into your occasional app hiccup and app stutter. Thankfully, there haven't been any app crashes, but this is why I say Android nowadays needs a minimum of 4 gigs of RAM. And me, myself, that means that because it's 3 gigs of RAM, you do have to be mindful of the number of apps that you have running in the background. Otherwise, you will see some occasional slowdown and you will see some performance dips. Okay, now I would recommend you keep it to anywhere from between 7 to 14 apps. Now, it can't really be helped with me because on average I use anywhere from 17 to 21 apps on a daily basis. So I'm going to run into that performance problem no matter what. But overall, the software on this device is actually pretty good. So Samsung did a great job in the software aspects of this device. Alright, now, the next thing I want to talk about with you guys and gals is the Wi-Fi on board this device, alright? And I've already preloaded everything before I started this video so y'all can see and get an idea of how good the memory management is and the overall speed of the device is. So just so y'all can see in real time how the device performs. Now let's pull up the Wi-Fi and talk about the stats here. Okay, and of course it has to reload even though I had it pulled up in the background. So, in terms of the Wi-Fi on this device is supporting single band Wi-Fi. So that means that it has Wi-Fi 802.11 B, G, and N. So no AC, no dual band. You just get your regular 2.4 gigahertz band Wi-Fi on this device. But other than that, I have to say the Wi-Fi performance on here has been really, really good. And I haven't had any issues in terms of the Wi-Fi. Okay? Now, let's go ahead and load up a YouTube video and let's give y'all a Wi-Fi performance test. This Wi-Fi performance test will also double as a speaker test as well. So again, I have it preloaded. Let's see how the memory management goes. And let me go ahead and turn it into portrait orientation here. And we're going to go ahead and push play. And I'm going to let y'all see. I did max out the volume here. So here we go. Enjoy this real quick. Okay, now let's go ahead and scrub through the video and check the performance. Alright, so there you guys and gals go. Real quick Wi-Fi performance test. And I gotta say, in terms of the overall Wi-Fi, it did a great job. So Wi-Fi performance is top notch. Now, in terms of the overall speaker performance, how do I feel about it and how did it do? Now, speaker wise, I'd have to say that it was very loud and very clear. Now, it did distort a little bit at max volume. I don't know if you guys and gals were able to hear it, but overall the speaker performance is pretty good. That being said, in terms of the placement, I'm not a big fan of the speaker placement. This bottom firing speaker means that it's really easy to muffle and or obstruct. In my opinion, they have more than enough bezel down here to add a front-facing speaker, and they have more than enough bezel up here to add a front-facing speaker as well. So I would have liked to have seen front-firing speakers on this device, but it is what it is, okay? So the speaker placement is a no-go. The speaker performance is pretty good, all right? Now let's keep it moving. Up next now, the next thing I want to talk about with you guys and gals is the overall LTE and the bands supported in this device. Now again, this is a GSM unlocked device. And what GSM means, that means you only have support for your GSM carriers. So let me pull that up here. Again, it was preloaded, so y'all can see it did have to reload. And let me show y'all the supported bands on this device. Okay, so y'all can see as long as your carrier is a GSM carrier and it has support for these LTE bands or these GSM bands, you should be good to go. Okay, so that right there. Now if this is unclear, I'll throw up a screenshot in post. Alright, so in terms of the bands, y'all getting a general idea of all the bands included in here. Now it would have been nice to see a globally unlocked variant, which means it would have worked across all the major carriers in the States and all GSM carriers abroad, but it is what it is. This is what Samsung chose to give us, so this is what we have to work with. So that pretty much goes over the LTE and the bands supported. The next thing I want to talk about with you guys and gals now is I want to go over the Bluetooth and the Bluetooth performance. Then we're going to cover the GPS. Now in terms of Bluetooth, this bad boy is packing Bluetooth 5.0 on board. So one of the latest and greatest sets of Bluetooth technology is built into this device. And in terms of the overall performance, I have to say the Bluetooth performance on here has been top notch. So you can see this is pretty much all the devices that I've connected up to this device via Bluetooth, and it works without issue, and I've had no issues with the overall Bluetooth performance. And that's a big thing for me because you know your boy is out here trying to live that hashtag wireless lifestyle, so we're not trying to fight with any cables at the end of the day. So really good to see that we got really top-notch Bluetooth performance out of this device. Okay? Next, now let's go ahead and talk about the GPS performance. Now in order to do that, let me go ahead and pull up my latest GPS stats here that I have saved in my Google Photos drive here. So let's go ahead and pull that up. Alright, and let's go to albums, and let's find the M20. Alright, where did I put it? You know what? I think I had it saved on my device as well. So let's go in to my gallery, and I think I have it saved on my device. Here we go. I put it into benchmarks, and here's the latest GPS results. This is like from a couple of days ago. So y'all can see, in terms of the overall GPS, I would have to say it locked on within fractions of a second, and y'all can see from the screenshot that it's using pretty much all the satellites that's within view. So out of 25, we're using 20. So that's pretty good, and you can see the accuracy is accurate down to 3 meters, so that's really good. And you can see the signal strength from the satellites is pretty much almost all green, so good stuff there. Okay, just so y'all can see that representation. Now, in terms of the overall GPS performance, in terms of day-to-day performance, it has been really good, and this is another area for me that needs to be there if I'm picking up a device and I'm making it my daily driver, because I'm very GPS dependent. So the fact that GPS worked really good on this device, so turn-by-turn navigation, geocaching and geotagging, all worked without issue. That's really, really important to me. So top-notch scores for the GPS performance on the Samsung Galaxy M20. Top notch in that category. Now let's keep it moving. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about with you guys and gals now is the overall call quality through the built-in receiver, which is right up here directly over the camera. It's kind of hard to see because it's all blacked out, but it's right up there. And the built-in speaker on the bottom of the device. Let's talk about the phone call quality coming out of both of those. Now, I tested this over T-Mobile's network via Text Now, and I tested it over AT&T's network via FreeUp Mobile. Okay, so that's one thing y'all are gonna have to keep in mind, that if you're picking this up, it really comes down to your location and your carrier's coverage. And at least for me, I don't have the best coverage via T-Mobile, but on AT&T, this bad boy worked phenomenally, okay? And in terms of the overall call quality, didn't have any issues through the onboard receiver, didn't have any issues through the onboard speaker. Speaker phone calls were very crisp, clear, and loud. Same thing for the receiver phone calls, didn't have any issues, okay? So good stuff in that category. Alright, and that's really important because at the end of the day, although this is a smartphone, it does have that prefix or suffix as phone. So it's got to be able to at least make good phone calls, because that's the core concept behind this device. It is a phone first and a smart object or device second, okay? So good stuff in that category, top-notch scores. Alright, moving on. The next thing I want to do now is talk about my overall experience with the cameras. Now, I've done a separate dedicated camera walkthrough, including the photo and video samples for this device. I'll link that up in the cards, and I'll also link it down below in the video description. So right here, I'm just going to give y'all my overall opinions on the cameras and the performance on this device. If you want a more in-depth look, please feel free to check out that video, again linked up below and linked down below in the video description. So, talking about the camera performance on the Samsung Galaxy M20. Now, in terms of photo performance, these are my three criteria, if you guys and gals didn't know. Point and shoot photo performance, okay? Point and shoot video performance, and audio capture capabilities, okay? Those are my three top criteria that need to be there in terms of smartphone cameras. So, in terms of point and shoot photo performance, these cameras did a really great job. I was easily able to whip it out, okay, double press, and then snap a photo or take a picture of whatever I needed to do, okay? So real quick, bam, it's open, and then I could just as easily snap a shot and we in business. Just like that. Y'all see how easy that was? real quick photo right here, and we can pull that up. And again, I don't have the best lighting in here, but you see how good this photo is? Really good. I don't even think my camera does it justice. Okay? So overall photo performance with this device is pretty much top notch, especially if you're a point and shoot shooter like myself. Same thing can be said for the overall video performance, top notch point and shoot video performance. Now, I do want to say this in terms of the overall color science between the lenses. The primary 13 megapixel camera, in my opinion, is the best camera on this device. It has nice accurate colors and it's not too punchy or oversaturated. Whereas the secondary ultra-wide sensor has more of a darker hue when you're taking video, and it has more of an oversaturated punch when you're taking photos. So that's going to need a little bit more editing, in my opinion. And it is a fixed focus sensor, so you don't get any zoom controls and you don't get any focus controls with the ultra wide sensor. And the same thing can be said for the front facing 8 megapixel sensor, fixed focus, no zoom controls, none of that. Okay, and the same thing can be said for in terms of photo performance. So it does have a tendency to overexpose, in my opinion, but once you get everything lined up right, you can take some really good video and some really good photos. Okay, so video performance on here, photo performance on here on this device is top notch. Now, audio recording. Again, this is another area that is top notch in my opinion. So I was able to take some really good video with this device, with or without external audio. Now, the plus is that if I was ever in a situation where I did need external audio, that's where that 3.5 millimeter headphone jack really came in handy. And the fact that I didn't need to go and download any third-party software, so I plugged in my external audio and it was immediately recognized by the onboard camera app and I could just use it, so it's very plug and play. That's another big plus. So point and shoot photo performance, point and shoot video performance, and point and shoot audio capture is top notch on this device. Now I know some of you guys and gals may be saying, but what about the resolutions, all that good stuff? Yes, I understand. It can only shoot in 1080p. So some of y'all may see that as a negative. But for me, I just take these things for what they are, and at the end of the day, as long as I'm able to capture what I need to and do what I need to on these devices, then I'm okay with that. So it is what it is. So that's how I feel about the overall photo, video, and audio performance on this device in terms of the cameras. Alright? Now, moving on, the next thing I want to talk about with you guys and gals is the overall gaming performance. And once again, I've done a separate dedicated gaming performance video. Link it up in the cards, link it down below in the video description for y'all to check out. And pretty much the gaming performance on here is pretty good. Now you do have to be mindful of the number of apps that you have open in the background while you're trying to game, because that will severely hinder your gaming performance depending on what you have running in the background. Even though everybody's saying don't close your apps, don't kill your apps, it'll mess up your performance. Well, if you don't have enough RAM to keep everything the way it's supposed to, then you're definitely going to have to manage that, okay? This is also another indication as to why I say you need at least 4 gigs of RAM, okay? So you will have to be mindful of app management if you want to get some really good gameplay out of this device, okay? And another thing, you want to be mindful that you don't drop the device, because after regular gameplay of about 35 to 45 minutes, the back of the device will get warm. So it'll get warm right below the fingerprint sensor here and right next to the cameras here. It will get warm after extended gameplay, so you want to be mindful of that, and you want to make sure you don't drop your device. Okay, so that's one thing I wanted to point out right there. Okay, got some notifications coming in, got some other stuff coming in, my bad y'all. So in terms of the gaming performance, it is pretty good. Okay, now moving on, let's talk about the benchmarks on this bad boy here. Let me go ahead and pull that up. Alright. And let's run through this really quick. Now, me myself, I don't really care for benchmarks too much anymore because I feel like manufacturers have ironed down the overall combination between hardware and software, which equates to an overall smooth and fluid user experience. That being said, I do know there are some of you guys out there that like to see the raw performance data, so I'm going to go ahead and keep featuring this until y'all tell me not to. So let's run through this real quick. So 3D Mark Ice Storm Unlimited test. You can see the M20 here scored a 13,606. And you can also verify the model of the M20 inside of this benchmarking app as well. So this is the SM-M205M GSM Unlocked International variant. Okay. Swiping over, this is the Antutu scores. So you can see it scored a 114,889. And you can see what the individual scores and breakdown was for the GPU, the memory, so on and so forth. So really good scores in my opinion. Okay, swiping over, this is the Geekbench 4 scores here. So you can see single core 1336, multi-core 4107, so 4,107. Really good scores. Not too good on the single core, but really good on the multi-core. And this is also where you can verify the RAM and your chipset. So you can see the Universal 7885, that's the Exynos motherboard chipset there, and you can verify that this is the 3GB RAM variant. Now it says 2.67, but that's because the OS has to reserve some RAM. So we're not going to get full access to the RAM as advertised. It just is what it is. So another reason why I always recommend you go for the highest RAM and storage variant. Okay, as long as you can afford it. Now this is the Geekbench compute test, and you can see it scored a 3,722. So good stuff there. The highest score that I've seen on this test was 7,000. So to me, that's a pretty good score in my opinion. And right down here, you can verify that this is an octa-core processor based on the ARM architecture. Okay, so good stuff there. Now these last few benchmarks aren't available on the Play Store anymore, but I still like to run them just so I can get an idea of how these newer devices stack up to the older ones. So this is the Volemo metal test, and you can see the M20 scored a 2,413 and got a solid second place right there. And then this next one is the Volemo multi-core test, and once again you can see the M20 here pretty much scored a, oh my bad, Google, why you going off? You can, man, chill out, yo, chill out. Ain't nobody said your name. Relax. Now, you can see for the multi-core test here, the M20 scored a 2,678. Again, getting a nice solid second place in the Volemo multi-core test. Alright, so it was weird to me because this is a newer device and I was expecting it to max out this test, but it is what it is. Alright, and then this last benchmark is my favorite. This is the Disco Mark multitasking benchmark, and as the name implies, this lets you load up any app on your device. It will cycle through that app a said number of times and then spit out the individual app load up times and then spit out a total time that it took your device to get through all the apps. And now on average, as I said, I run anywhere from about 17 to 21 apps daily. So that's what I ran through this test. And y'all can see the individual app load up times are pretty good. And the overall runtime is pretty good as well. So 3.44 seconds to get through all 21 apps. Good stuff there in terms of the app opening and app launching. That being said, while I was running this test, I did see a lot of app reloads when we got to like the third run. So it launched. For the second run, it kept it in memory, but for the third run, it had to reload it. So you will still see a lot of app reloads in my opinion. Okay? So this pretty much does it for the benchmarks. Now let's keep it moving. We almost finished, y'all. Next, The next thing I want to talk about is the overall battery life and the overall charge times. Now, as I always do, I'll have the screenshots up in post for you guys and gals to check out. But one thing I want to verify before we dive in, just so y'all know, is I want to verify the actual battery size. Now, to do this, I actually run these devices through 5 different apps, okay? And I did the same thing for this device here. And the battery size that I was getting on all of my apps was 4,900 milliamp hours, okay? And I even verified this in my 2 most commonly used apps. So you can see if I go to the AccuBattery app here and I go to health, you can verify that it does indeed have a 4,900 milliamp hour battery, and you can see just how many cycles I've put on the device, and you can see the overall health of the device. Also, if I go to the Ampere battery app, which is what I use to measure the power draw that the device can pull in while it's charging, you can also verify the same stats here. So again, 4,900 milliamp hour battery. And I pretty much got that same result across every benchmarking battery app that I used. So I went a step further and I jumped on YouTube and I started looking at some teardowns. And shout out to, I'll have the channel linked up down below in the video description, but I found a really good teardown that shows you a really good shot of the battery. So they walk you through step by step and they got really clear images so you can see what's going on. So I found that and I took a screenshot, and I can indeed verify the battery size on the M20 is 4,900 milliamps. Now I don't know how clear that is, but y'all can see right there, 4,900 milliamps. Now it says typical is 5,000, but actual is 4,900, okay? So, you know, I would just like these manufacturers to start actually advertising what the battery is. If it's 4,900, just tell me it's 4,900. You ain't got to lie, Craig. You ain't got to lie, okay? So Samsung, you didn't have to say it was 5,000 if it's really not. And the same thing goes for all the other manufacturers. Just advertise what the battery is. Don't try to pull the wool over our eyes. We'll be okay with it regardless. At the end of the day, we have to make the decision whether or not we want to spend our money on it. Just be truthful with us, okay? That's all I'm asking. So I just wanted to verify that before I talked about my battery stats here. Now, talking about the overall battery life on this device. Now, I pretty much use my devices extremely heavily. Anything that I can do on my device, I will do on my device. And the screenshots y'all getting ready to see here will give y'all a representation of that. So in terms of battery life with my style of heavy usage, I can make it through the day. And at the end of the day, I'm at about 10%. And to put that into perspective for you guys and gals, in terms of screen on time, I can get anywhere from 10 hours of screen on time to 13 hours of screen on time with heavy use. Now, I was able to get 15 hours of screen on time one time, but I could not replicate that. Therefore, that's just like a freak incident. And because I can't replicate it, I can't count it. But I was able to easily get between 10 and 13 hours of screen on time and get through a full day of use, which is heavy use with my style of usage. That being said, with lighter to moderate use, then I'm looking at 2 to almost 3 days. And then I'm averaging between 6 and 8 hours of screen on time. So the overall battery life on this device is pretty good. Would I have liked to have seen better? Yes, especially for what they're advertising, but for what it is, it's pretty good. That being said, in terms of the overall charge times, again, some things you got to keep in mind when you're looking at the charge times is the resolution of the display on your device. That's a big power draw, your overall battery capacity, and then your charging speeds as advertised by your manufacturer. Now, once again, this is a 1080p display in the 19:9 aspect ratio, and it's a TFT display, which after doing research, Samsung decided to use because they claim it would be more battery efficient. But again, I don't know how much I believe that, because Super AMOLED displays and AMOLED displays in general, even OLED displays, are super battery efficient. So I probably would have went with a Super AMOLED or an OLED display, but it is what it is. Samsung decided to go with what they decided to go with. And again, we have a 15-watt charging capability on this device. So in terms of charging speeds, I'm averaging between 2 hours and 3 hours to reach a full charge, okay? And that's just with my particular style of testing. Now, I tested 5% to 100 3 to 4 times, 10% to 100 3 to 4 times, 15% to 100 3 to 4 times, and 20% to 100 3 to 4 times. And those are the charge times that I'm averaging, okay? Keep in mind that we all use our devices differently, so your results may vary. And if you don't charge to full, you may get faster charge times as well. Okay? So that pretty much goes over the overall battery life and the overall charge times. Alright, now we've made it to the end of the video, and this is where I want to talk about the price and give you guys and gals my overall recommendation or two. So, in terms of the pricing, I was able to pick this up from Amazon, and it came really quickly. Now, this is the international GSM 3GB RAM, 32 gigs of onboard storage variant, and I paid approximately $185 for it. Now, I'll have the screenshot up in post so y'all can see exactly what I paid, and y'all can see the exact seller that I got it from, because I'm all about keeping it straight 100 around here. And for that price, you guys and gals are probably wondering, can I recommend that y'all pick up this device? Well, and here's the thing. For $15 to $20 more, you can get the max storage variant. So 4 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of onboard storage for $200. And in my opinion, I would recommend you go with that variant over this one, because that extra gig of RAM and that doubling of the storage can only help you at the end of the day. Okay, so can I recommend this one? If you don't have a lot of money to spend and you really want to jump into a Samsung device and you need all-day battery life without having to worry about it, then yes, I could recommend this. If you want the ultimate bang for your buck, I would recommend you go with the max storage variant, which is only going to cost you about $15 to $20 more, and $200. So overall, if you want the most bang for your buck, I would recommend the max storage variant. That being said, if you only got a certain amount of money to spend, then yes, I can recommend this. Alright? So that pretty much does it for this full review of the Samsung Galaxy M20. If you guys and gals enjoyed this video or found it helpful in any way, shape, form, or fashion, please help your boy out and give the video a thumbs up. That really does help me out. You don't know how much. If you would like to see more content like this, also feel free to hit the subscribe button down below and click off the notification bell icon right next to it so you guys and gals get notified when I publish new videos. If this video piqued your interest and you would like to know where you can pick up this device at some really great prices, all the links to where you can pick up this device at some really great prices will be available down below in the video description, along with all of my coverage that I've done on this device. So all the cases, all the screen protectors, the microSD card, all that good stuff, and the device in the different variants will all be available down below in the video description, as well as all of my coverage on this device. So the video description will truly be like a one-stop shop for you guys and gals, and you should be good to go. This whole video here today was recorded using the rear-facing 12-megapixel camera on the Samsung Galaxy S7 Active in 720p resolution at 30 frames per second. All the audio for this video here today was recorded using the Boya MM01 shotgun style microphone. So please let me know what you think of the overall video quality as well as the overall audio quality down below in the comments. I hope everyone has a great day, and I will catch you guys and gals in my next video. Peace, everyone. You know what time I think it is. Oh yeah, you know what we doing now, y'all. Y'all know what we doing. Let me pop this bad boy out. It's versus/comparison time. Yeah, we about to get this in. Hope everyone has a great day, and I'll catch y'all in my next video. Peace, everyone.
Perfect.